That's a big snapping turtle out on that log. Didn't really see him until we got so much closer. We are paddling in to the bushcraft camp that we started last year. Remember that? Catch and cook pike, starting a bushcraft camp. So we haven't been there over the winter. We're going to see how it held up and then make some improvements. So let's see what it looks like. We're at our first portage, and at first glance I thought these were tadpoles, but it's a school of little catfish. I'm gonna have to look them up after, or maybe somebody knows if these are, and there's only two kinds that we get here, bullheads or channel cats. What are they? Look at them traveling in a big line. So many of them. Just working their way along here.
A pike. A sunfish.
No, it just got off.
Oh no.
It was a good one too.
I was giggling too hard.
He's not much bigger than we were, right? Trying to keep some tension on this one this time, so we don't lose it. Giving good shake though.
Oh my god, not again.
Did you see him on?
Babe,
He's off, but he's in the net.
I did not get that.
That's alright. Now I hooked the net.
I've totally got that though.
Yeah, me hooking the net. Just not me like almost catching him in midair as he... Alright. There's quite a few clams in the creek here. Or the creek mouth, the river mouth. And there was a bit of a sandbar out here that's just less than knee deep. Had a lot of clams in the sand there too. So Delphine hopped out and scooped a little pail of clams. We'll let those guys purge overnight, and then those can be part of our lunch tomorrow. Getting close. Getting close to last year's bushcraft camp. Here comes Delphine with the cooler and an enormous backpack, an enormous hat. Right now all I see is the crossbar over the campfire spot. Let's get a little bit closer. Hey! Look at that! Sleeping platform is intact. There's a nice piece of maple firewood log that I set up to dry, and it's still here, probably dried out. There's all of our tinder and kindling, birch bark that we left, firewood that we cut and left, our fire pit. There's even our pot holder is here. We didn't bring that same pot this time. Paracord on the bar looks like it held up pretty well. So everything looks
it's awesome.
just like how we left it. Still a few cut pieces there, so this looks good. We're gonna unpack, we're gonna set up a little snack, we're gonna have a look around, tidy up a bit, and then think about how we want to expand on this project. got some equipment good news and some equipment bad news. And the bad news first, my Fitbit broke. Through no fault of its own, I just picked up the canoe and it slipped a little bit and it slid along my wrist and it broke the buckle off of the handle. And this model, as far as I know, does not have a replaceable band. So I'm gonna have to contact the company and find out about that. I think if I want to continue collecting Fitbit data about energy expenditure and distance traveled and things like that, I might have to upgrade to a new one. So I was sad about that. That's the equipment bad news. The equipment good news, remember the bad news? Ottawa to Miskaming Highland Trail, and the filter stopped working. Took me a long time to find a replacement hose, and this one I bought, it's from another brand. It's a little bit stiffer hose than what came with this Katadyn, or Katadyn, or however you say it. And I tried it out, and I also washed this under my tap water, and now it works beautifully again. So I'm really happy with that. I reread the manual for this. It did say that you should be able to filter something like 1,500 liters of water with that one filter, which is a lot of water for camping trips. Like, I've used that filter so much. Delphine and I have filtered so much water with that. The Wooded Beardsman and I have filtered so much water with that. Like, it's been real great. And so I'm really happy that for $16 I was able to get it back up and running. So we're going to collect some water, clean those fish, and get some things started here. Alright, there's our bass and our pike, and what I'm going to do with these guys is scale them, and then they're going into a meal with other food, so I'm going to scale them and take boneless meat off of them and take the heads off. So, you know, if I was going to bake them on their own, I would keep the heads on, but these guys are going in to a soupy kind of a dish with some other foods, and so I'm going to take the heads off and just do some boneless fillets. And I'm not going to show that whole process, but I'm basically going to just do what I said. Scale them, take the fillets off, and then everything's going back into the lake to feed the turtles. Okay. All scaled, boneless fillets served on red maple leaves, just to keep them off the dirt. We'll take those to our little camp. Yeah, the idea is just to have like an enclosed pit so that the fire is not going to spread through the roots or through the duff layer or anything like that. And then we'll have a nice reflector behind it, reflecting into our shelter, and then enough of a sidewall that we can lay a grill down, which I forgot to bring, but I have one that can come out here.
Speaking of ducks, we didn't bring any beer.
No, we didn't. Just getting our sand and a lot of our rocks over here. So there's a big poplar or aspen tree that's tipped over, and all underneath it has exposed lots and lots of sand and rocks. So it's really easy to get at it here. There's a few leaves mixed in, but it's kind of the easiest access sand nearby. It's getting there. There's our mostly completed fire pit. We haven't decided if it's going to be our final version. There is a fire ban on in our area, and we thought we would just do our little cook fires in the Bushbox XL. Another view on this fire pit. Isn't that cute? Little reflector rocks at the back and some great holding rocks on the sides. Nice sandy gravel bottom. I think it's gonna work out. Guess what?
Okay.
I've got my new, brand new, never been used replacement blade on this saw.
So what are you going to do with the old one?
Resharpen it. It's supposed to be resharpenable, so I have to get my hands on a little flat file that is the right size for that, and I'm gonna try my hand at sharpening. Holy, got a lot of bite. Zip, 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 zip. Okay. What's that? 1, 2. Cut this one, and then we will have all of our platform for our bed. There.
What, baby?
Hey?
Is that enough?
Bed's made, I think. We'll just tie the ends down so they don't roll. Those look good. Beef tortellinis. And then that fish is going in.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just gonna keep tying down these floor logs so we don't just have a conveyor belt that delivers us to the bottom of the bed in the middle of the night. Finally finding a use for all the little off ends of paracord that I've collected over time. So we've got a tarp set up, and underneath the tarp we're going to hang a mosquito net, and then we'll just Make sure there's no little knots on any of these. We'll set up our sleeping pad. And we should be good. After we eat, it's still kind of an early supper, but we'll go out for an afternoon fish and see if we catch some breakfast.
Or second dinner.
Or second supper. Eat while the fishing's good. Supper's ready. This is the most exciting part of the day. Oh, listen to that. Fish boiling in butter. Is that what that is?
Kinda.
Kinda. So there's smallmouth bass, northern pike, and is there a can of mackerel also?
Yeah.
And a can of mackerel with beef tortellinis.
And there are leeks in it.
And leeks? Wild leeks that you picked?
Yeah.
And what? Parsley?
Just some
Mixed herbs?
Yeah. I forgot that was just on the stove.
Here it is. Oh yeah, mine's even got like a little bit of butter pooling right down in the bottom. Look at that. How is it?
It's really good.
So we missed a few fish. Caught 2. Came here. Did a little bit of work. Now we're having early supper. And we'll go fishing again. Still lots of hours of daylight at this time of year. So it'll be light till almost 9 o'clock or around 9 o'clock. So we still have a lot of day ahead of us. We'll check back in. Oh, Delphine's first cast.
This is awesome.
First cast.
I don't have anything to...
I don't have anything either. I didn't bring my multi-tool. So we were just saying, we got into the boat and I was like, oh, I forgot to bring the worms. Delphine said, oh, we forgot to bring water. And then I said, oh, well, it won't take us more than a few casts to catch second supper anyway. And there.
Hey.
Oh, did you unhook it?
No, I broke my
Oh, that's okay. Grab them by the back of the neck, and then you can unhook them, just like you did before, by the gills. Give them a good squeeze. Wham! Good. And then you should... Can you reach that hook or no? It's in too deep?
Maybe in there too deep, babe.
Okay, we'll just do it after then. So we'll put them in the billiard table. We're gonna deal with this fish. It's all that racket. It's all that racket in the bucket. A little bass. Just big enough for some little fillets. Oh, I think he bent my hook. That seems unusual. Maybe it was already bent from that big pike I missed. So, we were talking about just needing a second fish for second supper, but this guy's a bit small, so maybe we'll try for a third fish. Oops, missed the bucket. A little bass. Little bass. Is that our third fish or what?
That's our third one.
What is that, our third one, and we're keeping it for eating? It's a bit small, that guy.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
I have to go back.
Okay, Delphine's gonna let that one go and we'll catch another one. I was waving the net around and waving the camera around and I thought I was recording and I wasn't. And look at this. Delphine's catching supper tonight.
Oops.
Bottom lip, eh, babe?
Yep.
Unless the hook is right at the bottom lip, but there you go. Now he's pretty much immobilized.
Oh, it's pretty stuck though.
Alright, so we're going to deal with this fish and then we might go put together our second supper. It's getting dark, sun's down below the trees anyway, so we won't have that much. Like, I certainly don't need these sunglasses on. So we'll check back in when we get to shore. Alright. What we got here? We've got the big bass and the little bass and the pike. And the pike still has a hook in it, so we've already done this once today, but we're gonna scale these guys, take off boneless fillets, and then those are going to be second supper. Again, I'm not going to show it, I'm just going to do that. And then the heads and guts and things we put back in the river for the turtles and the catfish. There we go, all cleaned up. You want to show? There they are on a little red maple leaf plate. So it's time for second supper. And we're heading over to cook it. I'll give you a little show. I brought some beaver chews to cut up for firewood. Partly because often the beaver chews are hardwoods. Generally, not usually softwoods. Not conifers anyway. And we've been making our fire with all little conifer twigs, and it tends to burn hot and then go out. And so I think we might get some better coals out of these little bits of hardwood dowel, basically. And we're working on second supper. So we have our fish here. What are we doing? Putting in butter?
Yeah.
And then cooking it. And then eating it. I think that's about as fancy as it's going to get, except you've got some leeks out, I think I saw.
Yep.
And we have some mackerel, but we're not going to add it in this time, right?
No, just what we caught.
Yeah, they're really great though. Those tinned fish is really nice for adding flavor to, and a bit of fat and a bit of protein into other dishes. Those little pieces of the beaver chew wood that was dry on the shore, you can hear it. Hear the sound it makes? Like dry bones. and it's making noticeably better cooking coals. Much more even cooking heat, I would say, babe.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's much better.
So it's going better than using all the little dry twigs that were around and the pieces of balsam and spruce. So cut up a little firewood pile here to get us through the next couple of meals. Oh, look at this. This is second supper. We're like hobbits. So that is just fish in butter and leeks.
Salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper? Okay. So,
Yeah, we went all out today.
yeah. Looks good. So we're going to eat that. We're not going to film us eating second supper, but that's what we're going to do. And then we may or may not do very much more tonight. We might cut a few pieces of firewood or do something until it gets dark, and then probably just have a sleep. So over here, what I started to do was just to make a pile of firewood that basically is going to be kind of a back wall on the shelter. There's not a lot there right now, but shouldn't take long to fill that in, and then there'll be a good supply of firewood. And in the morning, one of the things I might try and do is tackle this spruce stump over here. I'm going to try and split a couple of slabs off of it, and then we can use one as a table and a firewood cover. So we'll see. Alright, one more thing we have to do before we go to bed. I haven't used these before, but I was interested. This is half a pound of dried peas, and in order to prepare these, you boil some water with a soaking tablet, and then you pour it over top of the peas. I'm going to do a half package, and we're going to set that up, and then it just is supposed to soak for 12 to 16 hours. And the other one we're going to do is this. I got these both at Sobeys. I haven't seen them anywhere else. Maybe I just haven't looked hard enough. This is low-fat hard bread, and it literally is just like, it's not even a sealed bag, which I find really surprising. It's like a rock hard bread. Yeah, sounds like our firewood. And we're going to soak 2 of these, and they need to soak overnight, and then you cook them in their soaking water up to an almost boil, and then you drain it immediately and then keep them hot. And the recipe that it's got on the side is called Brewis, and all you're doing is cutting up fish and cooking them, and then adding them to these pieces of cooked bread. I'm not really sure what to expect out of that. They say to do it, cook the fish with fat and scrunchions, which scrunchions are like little pieces of bacon bits or something. So what I packed was a bag of pork crackling that I put in my freezer after I rendered down that pork fat. So that's what we're starting tonight for a meal tomorrow. There's a soaking tablet. And
so you can't do half.
So soaking tablets. Oh, there's probably 2 together in this one package. So we will take out 1 soaking tablet. Oh, they don't want to come apart. Okay, I have to stop the camera, break these apart, start the camera. Oh my goodness. Somebody's prepared here.
You need a little something. Do you want this?
Thank you. Okay. 1 soaking tablet. And we're going to save the other one up because we're just doing a half batch. So we'll put that back in the box. pour some of these peas in. It's going to make a mess, so I'm going to do that off camera. And we're going to dissolve up that tablet. Good. The tablet is dissolved. And pour the peas in. Give them a stir. And check them in 12 hours.
Oh, maybe not. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Alright, so it says to split them, so we're splitting them. I just want it to crack a bit. I don't know. Well, we'll see about that. And we're just gonna cover them with regular water and let them soak overnight. So there they are. They're in a pot. Cover them with water, and then we'll check on them tomorrow. Coffee time soon. How did you sleep last night?
Good.
Yeah, I slept pretty good. I tossed and turned a little bit. We had, was it a mouse or a squirrel?
A squirrel.
Ran.
It kept coming here, right to the tree.
Yeah.
It would look at you and run away.
A little red squirrel. I heard a few things in the night.
What did we hear this morning over there?
Oh, I don't know. I thought that was a squirrel also. I might have heard a deer. Something big walking and crunching sticks and things. Or maybe it was a raccoon or I don't know what, but so there were a few things around. I heard the constant hum of the mosquitoes.
Oh goodness, there were so many.
They become like a lullaby after a while, right? Some of them found their way into our net. But other than that, it was pretty good. And we just had kind of a lazy morning. It got light pretty early. We're still at the long time of year, long days, so it's, you said past 7 now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just making some coffee. We're gonna do some bacon and eggs with croissant. And we brought the devil's syrup for our coffee. It's just on the bed. It's sweetened condensed milk. Rather than pack in milk and sugar, well, you end up using some of this, and then there's way more than you would ever need, so you have to eat it like some kind of a pudding. I don't know. And after that, we're gonna go fishing. And once we've caught our fish for lunch, then we're gonna come back and do a little bit of work around this little bushcraft camp, which right now is pretty much just a sleeping platform and a fire ring, but I might add some features. That squirrel there, we were having our coffee. It's on the run here. And got Where are we? There's a blue jay. That blue jay took a swipe at that squirrel, so it came flying by and tried to peck it off of a tree. I don't know what's going on. Presumably that squirrel is harassing that jay's nest, or they're fighting over food. I'm not too sure, but sorry, that was really sloppy camera work, but it was pretty interesting to see. It's better than television with our little breakfast here.
Do the second one.
Is that just pure bacon fat?
It is. Well, I didn't want the buns to be too dry.
No. Seems reasonable.
I thought so.
Alright, this is the first round of breakfast here.
Oops. Oh, darn.
We had our coffee. Now we're having breakfast sandwiches. So I just was adding to the firewood stack behind me. I think that might be one of my favorite camping things, is when you set wood aside at a campsite and think, maybe I'll use this the next time I'm here, and then you come back and there's the cut wood that you set aside, all dried out, ready to go. Not that I mind cutting wood when I get to a campsite, but sometimes it's nice to just show up and be able to make a fire. And Delphine's been working on breakfast round 2. So more eggs, more bacon, more croissant. That's what we're getting into here. And then it'll be fish time. Fish time! You gonna pull the front of the canoe?
I thought so. Is that okay?
Clams for after.
Oh goodness. We are never going to be able to eat all of this food.
No, we can take some home.
We'll have to.
Just slide, baby. Just drag it.
Oh, okay.
On the roots. Alright. Gonna go catch some more fish. And I will show you. Put those clams into the big bucket here just to purge out a little bit. And now we need that big bucket for fishing, so we'll just transfer them back into the small bucket to save them up for after. These are really meaty clams.
How do they look?
Look good. Look at them.
Oh, nice. Yep.
They're pretty algae encrusted, eh? And we'll just scoop some fresh water for them. Whoa! Got a little microphone malfunction here. Fell right off. That's weird. New lure.
Relure. Which is
Switching
the
it
one
up.
that you got out of the...
I'm working away here, trying to uncoil a big tangle in my line, and Delphine's doing her sneaky silent fish capture. This is the nicest one yet. Dispatch. Full dispatch. Alright. We're gonna dispatch this fish off camera.
Nice.
Right in the bucket. You got the net. Alright.
What, stabby McStab stab?
Stabby McStab stab? Yeah. Please. Thanks. Alright. One little lunch pike.
Show him again.
Hmm?
Show him again. Oh. Yay.
Wow.
I'm going to zoom in.
I'm missing a fin. Most of a fin.
Wild.
It's hard to lift that guy without getting hurt.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Notice there's a real abundance of dragonflies and damselflies here. Lots of variety. And that one, for example, I don't think I've seen that one before. I also saw a really brilliant red one. And so there's one on that blade of sedge over there. Some steel blue ones that have been landing on us. There's that nice one. I think I've seen that one there before, that emerald green one with the black wings. Zygoptera, that's the group that those guys belong to. Oh, I guess hatched out of this little piece of river here. Maybe I'll also, so we're pretty excited. Delphine spotted these guys over here. See those purpley flowers? We think that that is the swamp milkweed, which is reputed to be the preferred fiber for making cordage. So we're going to keep our eyes on that through the summer and then harvest some stalks off of that in the fall. We'll be back here, of course, back to our little bushcraft camp, and which is where we're headed right now with our haul of fish. Cook up some lunch supper.
It does seem a bit easier when they're still...
Yeah, made a difference.
I think so.
So after these fish were dispatched, we put them in the bucket, but we added enough water to kind of cover them to keep the scales soft and from drying out. And Delphine thinks that it has made a difference. And I think that it's true. So Delphine's going to clean and scale that one, what she caught, and I'm going to do the other smaller one that I caught. And then we'll head over to our little camp spot. We are going to make Brewis. I'll give you a little peek at the bread. So this is what it looks like after it's been soaking all night. We're going to bring it up to a near boil. Then we're going to drain it and set it aside. To that, we are also going to add the peas. Do you mind to lift the cover on those peas?
Sure, I'll just...
The peas, which have been soaking overnight. So we're going to cook those. So we'll boil these clams and add those, and also this cooked fish. And that is going to be our version of Brewis. Okay. On this side of the tree, I think the crack is coming down and it's going to intersect the cut that I made at the base. However, on the other side of the tree, the split is coming down and my cut's over here. And now what's happened is, from the tree splitting this way, the cut that was here, the gap is closed. I can't get the saw in there to finish my cut. And if I put the saw in and I try and recut the line, because there's tension on the tree this way, it just keeps binding my saw. So I'm going to have to pull my wedges out, recut, and then put the wedges back in and split that off, and then I should get this slab of a tree. It's not the greatest. It's pretty soft inside, but the outside is pretty solid, and so it'll make a bit of a rain cover for the firewood pile. Maybe a bench. So there's a slab, and now if I want to cut the rest of the way through this, I'll have a second slab, which will be the least amount of work because all the splitting's been done. So I just have to cut with my Katanaboy. Got a couple pieces of firewood, and I can just trim this off a bit, maybe notch out some of this. Oh wow, that looks really, smells pretty resinous too. That might be a good fire starter. Anyway, I could notch some of that out of the middle, and I'll have a firewood cover or a bench or something. While I was splitting that log, Delphine's been cooking. Cooking and cooking and cooking. Can we have a peek at the bread? There's the bread. Came to the near boil. It's being kept warm. There's the peas. Look at those mushy peas. Yum yum. And these are a couple of cooked clams. And what Delphine's been doing is, because we only have so large of a pot, keeping the water on a boil and just doing the clams one or two at a time. So we're almost ready to make the Brewis.
Yeah, check out that.
Oh, scrunchions! So there's the, those are the, what are they called? Pork rinds, basically from rendering pork fat, which I showed in another video. So those are going in as well. Cooked clam, Out clam. Is there a third one?
Oh, another dud.
No, it didn't open. So that one goes off to the side. We don't eat dud clams. We threw some of this wet looking stuff on the fire, but it did not appear to be resinous, it just appears to be wet. So I'm going to remove that portion. Oh, I can smell lunch cooking from over here. It smells really good. I think I better go over there. I guess I'll bring this with me. Pike and bread.
And
Brewis. Oh, and the scrunchions. And we're gonna put the peas in there too, right? That's gonna be part of it. Awesome. So we have enough pike that we need to cook a second round. We just shot all of our initial impressions. Talked about how it tasted and the texture. Camera wasn't recording. So the short story is, it's good. The long story is that the bread texture on its own is not pleasant, but mixed in with everything else, it's pretty good. And so to this we're going to add peas, another round of fish and scrunchions, and
which I'm going to check right now.
We're going to do the clams separately. Delphine's got a plan for some dipping sauce with butter and cayenne. Yeah. She's going to work some magic. It's going to be good.
So that's I think that sounds good.
Delphine's saying that the seasoning mix sounds good.
Yeah, so
to cook the clams. So they've already been boiled in the water. They're going to get another warm up in some butter and seasoning spice mixture.
It's too hot. I think I'm going to put a little more garlic salt in it though. Okay, here we go.
First clam.
Oh, hot.
What does it taste like? Butter, spice, and mush.
Butter, spice, and everything nice?
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Was it pretty good? Mm-hmm. Alright, I'm gonna try one. They're hot?
They're hot, babe. It tastes a little lakey. Oh.
Pine cone just fell in our shelter. Can you see the shadow of it? Right up there. That's a funny little noise. They do taste a little bit lakey. Mm-hmm. A little bit rubbery-ish. Well, that's alright. There's lots of food in those. Cool, and we've got all this Brewis to eat, so we're gonna eat. So that's our camp over there, where that little brown shine is. That's the tarp, and from over there I could see these big slabs of, or big rolls of birch bark hanging off the tree, and so I walked over here to grab some, and I got a good armload. And then the funny thing was, I came across this, which is basically what I spent so much time splitting that other stump off for, is right here. It's pretty solid. All I have to do is cut it off, and like the way that it peeled off as it fell, there's a whole slab or two to be had off of this as well, maybe. So we're just gonna cut through it and see what we end up with. There.
Thank you.
Welcome. So we want to build a teepee frame, and we just are going to grab some of these dead standing poles.
Teepee frame smoker.
Slash smoker. In case we ever manage to hit the whitefish run, which is what I've been trying to do for 2 or 3 years. And then we'll also maybe grab those slabs over there that I just pointed out. Solid. That should help to keep that wood dry until the next time we come. And then still got this slab and this slab to do something with. More good rain covers. Do a wrap and a frap, so it goes over and then under and then over and under, and then we keep everything pretty tight together and work our way back. So under here, oh, it's got to come this way.
I know. Here?
Yeah. Okay, so we've wrapped over, under, and now we're going to do the frap. So we're just going under.
There's a little...
Oh, there's a little doohickey. And the frap is like a wrap around the wrap. So we'll do 1, and 2, and pull that tight. And then we're coming over and we're going to frap this one. So this helps to pull all the wraps tight around the poles. And one last frap. So now we've wrapped each log, we've frapped each wrap, and then with the loose end, I'm just going to tie back off to our first loose end, and maybe we'll just do right over left and under, left over right and under, like a, that didn't work out, but anyway, tie a knot, and we'll tie an extra knot just to be sure. And now those shouldn't slip. We should be able to lift this thing up. We're going to drag it your way. Lean it on that too. I'll leave it underneath it a little bit. Now if you grab these two, I'm going to grab these two and walk around a little bit.
Like just stand something?
Yeah. Good. That one can go back a little bit. Just because the ground's a bit uneven. I'm going to have to dig a bit of a hole for one, but...
Okay. Awesome.
That's... there it is. Now if you trust it, you'll climb it.
Okay.
To show how strong it is.
But I'm not good at climbing. That's as far as I could go. It's strong enough though.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
Cool. I think this might be our parting shot. We are packing up and heading home. We have one portage between us and home, and maybe a couple of hours of fishing along the way. If we catch something, we'll update when we get to the truck, but otherwise that kind of summarizes our trip. So we did all the things we wanted to do. We revisited the Bushcraft camp, found it in good condition. We made a couple of small upgrades. We stayed the night. This was my 10th night out this year. We did a catch and cook and a catch and cook and a catch and cook. clams, pike, bass. Tried a couple of new foods, that hard bread and those peas, and had a good time. So this was a good trip. What are we looking at? We're looking at caddisfly cases. Whoop. Just broke that one. Ooh, she crumbled.
Oh no.
But here, look at caddisfly, 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 all built of little stones. And if you look, there are so many of them here. There's a caddisfly here and here, and there's about 8 of them here and here and here. So these guys, I didn't realize that they would glue themselves to the rock like that. I thought they just had a little loose stone house, but I guess they glue themselves onto the rocks. Look at even down here, there's so many. And these guys have been stranded dry because the water levels are quite low, and I guess they abandoned all their little houses. And maybe if we were looking around in the water part, we would see caddisflies in there as well. But I always get excited when we're benthic sampling and we get caddisflies in the kick and sweep. So I was pretty excited to see so many in one spot there. Here's a parting shot as we head out of here of a beautiful little river.